Production. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Real Gay Movie Show. I'm your host, Mike Lovins, and I am here with Ryan Provost. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing so great, Mike. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome.
So, Oscar season, it's
a wrap.
It's a wrap.
It's done.
Did you enjoy watching?
I loved it. I mean, I always forget just how much of a marathon watching the Oscars can be. It's a little long, but I always love it. It was a great time.
Yeah, I was glad that they started it earlier, but it still felt like it went on forever.
Oh my gosh. So long, but it's great. I love it. I had a great time.
The outfits were pretty nice.
Oh my gosh. Did you see what Adam Rippon wore?
I did.
The
harness.
Oh,
that's amazing.
I loved it. I texted my best friend and told him that my condolences for him stealing his wedding outfit idea.
I will say, there was a lot of positive representation at the Oscars this year for all kinds of people. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it really felt like the most woke Oscars ever. It was very... a lot of celebrating different voices that were coming to the table, which was kind of interesting because before they announced the winners of all of the actor categories, they showed clips of all the people who had won that award before. Yeah. And so it was very striking, I think, with how aware they made us feel of this year was different and we're moving in a different direction forward. Whenever they would show those clips, you would see all these white faces. And so it was really cool to kind of acknowledge those 90 years of history before this and talk about what we can look forward to in the future if we unleash these creative forces that have just never been given their chance before.
And it seems like they'd kind of, in the previous years recently, kind of held back from doing those montages. So I wonder if that was a conscious thing that they were...
I don't know. I really like it, though. I like when they kind of remind us of where we've been.
Yeah.
Both in very recent history, but also, going way back. The Oscars are not a perfect thing. And we're finally acknowledging some movies that wouldn't have gotten some love, just even a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I just really like seeing new things, getting to recognize new kinds of films that wouldn't get typically recognized at something like the Oscars.
So was there anything in particular that stood out to you as far as either any of the presentations or any of the speeches or anything like that?
I mean, my favorite winner of the night was Jordan Peele winning for writing for the original screenplay for Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really, again, talking about recognizing voices and creativity that doesn't typically get recognized at the Oscars. Mm-hmm. I really like seeing him get that award. Someone we wouldn't think of winning the original screenplay award, taking home that trophy. I thought it was really cool to see that. And then I really loved Frances McDormand's acceptance speech.
She had something to say.
She has something to say. And it even felt like it wasn't, something confined to that speech, but okay, now what now? What's going to happen now that the Oscars are over? They just had this super woke Oscars where they're talking about having more of a space for women and having more space for people of color and for LGBT folks.
Right.
What are they going to do next? Are we going to continue to see great movies coming out where these folks have a voice? Or are we going to keep seeing only men being nominated for Best Director because only men get to direct movies? I really liked how Emma Stone called out, here's 4 great directors and Greta Gerwig, who
that was
did
awesome.
amazing work this year, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen next? I think that her speech, Frances McDormand's speech, really opened that up, and hopefully we'll see some great results and get to talk about even a more diverse Oscars next year.
Yeah. And in that category specifically, I was really hoping that they wouldn't just give it to Meryl because Meryl was nominated. Like I thought she did a great job in that role, but my choices were between Sally Hawkins and Frances McDormand.
Yeah.
So I was glad that one of those two got it.
Speaking of Sally Hawkins, how happy were you that Shape of Water won Best Picture?
Oh, I was I was enamored. I loved it. I was so happy about that. I was so happy
I
about
thought
that.
about you. I figured you were probably pretty ecstatic.
Yeah, yeah. When Guillermo won for director and Shape of Water won Best Picture, I was very happy. And you know, I would have been also very happy if Call Me by Your Name won, but yeah, as we said in the as I said in the last episode, um, between the two, Shape of Water turned out to be my favorite movie of the year.
Now,
So
see, I was rooting for Get Out. Because I think, you know, years and years from now, when we look back at this year, the movie we're going to think about is Get Out.
yeah,
And so I was a little disappointed that one didn't win Best Picture. I can't complain about Shape of Water. I really like that movie a lot, but I loved Get Out. And I really think that that's going to be the most relevant movie from 2017 when we look back on this year, years and years from now.
yeah.
But you know, still happy for Shape of Water, and was really excited that Call Me by Your Name won adapted screenplay.
So you know, I was thinking about that too. You know, the screenplays are such a huge part of what make the movie the movie. And the fact that Get Out and Call Me by Your Name won for each of their categories of screenplay, I think says a lot as far as honoring the storytelling.
Right. Well, and I'm really glad that they kind of spread out the love among a lot of these movies. So, you know, Call Me by Your Name won. Call Me by Your Name and Get Out won the screenplay awards. Guillermo del Toro and Shape of Water won the Best Picture and Best Director. Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell from Three Billboards won acting awards. Allison Janney from I, Tonya won an acting award. So they spread out the love. It wasn't a year where one movie dominated everything. Even the technical awards were spread out between Dunkirk won some, but then Blade Runner won a couple.
I was kind of excited about that. I mean, you know, the big Star Wars fan in me was kind of hoping for Star Wars to win some of those and for John Williams to win the you know, the score.
And I don't know about you, speaking of the music, my Facebook feed blew up with Angry Queen's Mad That, what's that Greatest Showman song?
Oh.
When it lost?
Yeah, is it like This Is Me or
This
something
Is
like
Me. They were so mad when This Is Me didn't win, and I honestly did not care that much. I didn't feel it.
See, and I'm guilty of I hadn't seen that movie yet either.
I still haven't seen it either. I know a lot, but a lot of the gays are up in arms about that. You know what? Remember Me is a great song.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a particularly strong year for the songs.
For the original song, yeah.
I know the gays are upset that Greatest Showman wasn't nominated for all the awards, but honestly, I know neither of us have seen it, but I haven't heard from outside the gay community much positive about it. And while I like musicals, you know, I loved La La Land. I actually thought La La Land, if I could have picked a Best Picture last year, I think La La Land would have been my choice. But I just didn't see the appeal of Greatest Showman. And so, sorry gays, we didn't get our way, but oh well.
Que sera, sera.
Call Me by Your Name won an Oscar, so deal with it.
There you go. So you mentioned Sam Rockwell, and I did have a little bit of an issue with the supporting actor Oscar. Just for one, I was a little disappointed that Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell were both nominated, because I feel like performances from like Michael Stuhlbarg, you know, in Call Me by Your Name, and there was room for one other movie to be represented in there instead of representing two movies.
I feel like the supporting actor award is always one that there's a million people who could be nominated. There's always so many great supporting roles in films, and so I feel like every year there's some that just miss out.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, I can't deny Sam Rockwell gave an awesome performance in that movie and probably deserves it, if not for just that role, then for all the other things he does, because he is
a good actor.
He's an awesome actor.
Yeah, I'm certainly not denying him that. So were there any other categories that that you thought either stood out or maybe there was a snub or anything like that?
Nothing that was really a snub for me. I was excited to see my girl Allison Janney take home an Oscar.
Yeah.
Always loved her. CJ Craig herself. So Do you understand that reference?
Is that West Wing?
It is West Wing, but she's always so great. Did you see I, Tonya?
I did.
You did,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
So
no, she was
yeah,
awesome.
she's so great in it, and so I was really happy to see her win. I mean, if there's anything, I'm sad that there were I think two of the strongest performances for me this year were Laurie Metcalf and Lady Bird,
Yeah.
and Allison Janney and I, Tonya. And so I was sad that I wish these movies hadn't come out the same year so that both of them could have gotten an Oscar for those roles. If there's any snub, I don't think Lady Bird won anything. And if you remember from last week, that was one of the two movies I gave 4 reels to.
Yeah.
And I just love that movie, and I hated it not getting recognized for anything at the Oscars. I feel like it was just a really strong year in all the categories it happened to be nominated in. Screenplay, director, supporting actress, all had such strong competitors that unfortunately Lady Bird just missed the cut.
Maybe we can get a Lady Bird 2 in that year. It'll sweep it all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and the last thing I want to kind of hit on is Gary Oldman winning for Darkest Hour. I was not surprised there at all.
We called it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that movie exists.
Yeah. So
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. So
watching Gary Oldman, the only thing I could think is my goal in life is that no one would have to put on so much prosthetics to win an Oscar to play me someday. If that happens, then my life has gone awry somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
let's hope.
Although to be fair, depending on who would play me, you might need some padding. But what'd you think of Jimmy Kimmel?
I love Jimmy Kimmel. I think he does a really good job hosting the Oscars. I think he should be kind of the new Billy Crystal and just host it every year.
Yeah.
I think he does a solid job. I thought he did a little bit better last year. I love the whole him and Matt Damon thing. And he only brought it up like once this year.
But it was great.
It was
perfect though.
It was really good when he did. When they had it was the tribute to the to troops being portrayed in movies, and there was a clip of Matt Damon from Saving Private Ryan, and he apologized to the troops for being associated with Matt Damon. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good.
So I wish there was more of that. I don't think he had as much. It didn't seem like he had as much fun with it this year as he did last year. But
he was probably more nervous this year.
Yeah, and they did beat the messing up the Best Picture joke. They beat that one into the ground.
Yeah,
but I did love seeing Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway at the end.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I'm glad that happened.
And I actually kind of liked the little bit that they did with the whoever has the shortest speech wins a jet ski.
Oh yeah, I did like that. That was great. I was kind of hoping someone would just be like, I want that jet ski, and then just get off the stage. But no, none of them did.
Yeah. Well, you got things to say, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. So what do you say we move on and start talking about Red Sparrow?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this past weekend, Red Sparrow was released, and that stars Jennifer Lawrence, Joel Edgerton, and Jeremy Irons, among others, and was directed by Francis Lawrence, no relation, but I believe he directed 3 of the 4 Hunger Games movies, so he kind of has that relationship with Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So in this movie, Red Sparrow, Jennifer Lawrence plays Dominika Egrova.
Russia's hard.
Russian
is hard.
Russian is hard. So she's a Russian ballerina whose career is cut short after an accident leaves her unable to dance. She and her sick mother live in an apartment that it's owned by the ballet company. Her uncle works for a nefarious branch of the government and promises to keep her and her mom in their home and keep her mother's medication going if she does one job for him. But, of course, it's a Hollywood movie, so the job goes wrong. She witnesses something she shouldn't have seen, and she's given the choice to die or become a sparrow. So she goes through some brutal training. She gets her first mission. She's sent to Budapest. to get close to this American that's played by Joel Edgerton, and because he's in contact with a mole that's in the Russian government. So she's tasked with finding out the name of the mole and bring that information back.
Okay.
That's the skinny.
I guarantee you it's way more complicated than that. But yeah, good brief synopsis of that one.
Yeah. It's the gist.
The gist. Yeah.
So you saw the movie just recently.
Like right before we started taping. Yeah.
So I'll let you start.
Well, I mean, going into this one, I'll be honest, this is our first actual movie that we're reviewing, and I was not at all excited about it. In fact, I don't think it was just me. I was at a friend's place watching RuPaul's Drag Race with about 20 queens on Thursday night, and they had some commercials for different movies. And so a commercial for Wrinkle in Time came on, and everyone was like, yes, Disney, is this going to be this year's Beauty and the Beast? You know, they were getting really excited about that. And then a commercial for Love, Simon came on, and everyone was like, oh, cute gay boy, yes, gay story, you know. And then a commercial for this came on, and there was a collective like a groan, like someone I think even said, I am not seeing that, you know. And in my mind I'm thinking, oh crap, this is the first movie no one's gonna listen. And I kind of felt the same way, and I feel like the trailer was really bad for this one. Like, it really didn't give you a sense of what exactly this movie was gonna be. And really, I feel like the trailer should try to identify who it's going after as far as an audience and really play to them. And I don't know who this trailer was trying to appeal to, or any of the commercials or marketing or anything. I mean, did you get a sense of that?
Yeah, it's Black Panther aside, February is kind of a dumping ground for movies that people feel like, that studios don't feel like are going to do very well. This movie came out March 1st, so it may have well have been, you know, February 29th. So I'm not sure that the studio knew who they were marketing towards, who they were trying to get into the theaters in this.
Yeah, because, I mean, they really did release it at a perfect time to make sure no one saw it, because everyone is still all excited about Black Panther.
Yeah.
Next week, Wrinkle in Time comes out. Ready Player One is right around the corner. And then before you know it, we're in summer movie season. And so...
all movies that I'm excited about.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. This movie was just not really hyped. And if they wanted people to see it, they did not do a really good job of trying to sell this movie.
Yeah.
It did come in second place this weekend as far as box office. Black Panther was still number one with like 60-something million dollars. It's supposed to get to $1 billion here, like, I think this week.
Yeah, it has surpassed Wonder Woman now.
Yeah. But this one got 17 million. It costs about 70 million to make. So I don't know if we're going to see a Red Sparrow too, but it didn't really pull me in. I was not necessarily looking forward to see this one. I procrastinated about as long as I could to see it. But I mean, I don't know about you. I really like Jennifer Lawrence. Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
In general, I'm a Jennifer Lawrence fan.
I am too, generally. And I think one of the great things about her is she's made such great choices in what she does. I think she is doing generally what I would recommend someone do if they want to be a true movie star these days, which is sometimes she does the real big Oscar movies.
Right.
So she'll do a Silver Linings Playbook, a Winter's Bone, you know,
American Hustle.
She'll do those kinds of movies and get all that awards, you know, buzz, and actually won the Oscar. But then she'll go and do X-Men or Hunger Games or something like that, where she's really
big franchise movies.
Yeah. And so I really like how she does that. So that's why it kind of perplexed me that she chose this as kind of something outside of those things. Because this isn't a big tentpole franchise kind of movie. It's clearly not a big Oscar movie. I don't know if this was the best decision for her.
I feel like I'm not sure if she had decided to do this before or after Mother, so she may not have known what kind of backlash she was going to get from Mother before taking this on. But I
And
think
that was another choice. Like
yeah,
Mother, I don't think really fit. I mean, maybe she thought that was going to be an Oscar type of movie.
probably. Um, but I think with this one, I think it was just outside of her comfort zone. Um, and we can get into those scenes later, but I think she wanted to try something different. And like I said, the guy who directed this directed 3 of the 4 Hunger Games movies, so there was probably a trust level there where she was like, I'm gonna try something with this guy again and see.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe he just, knows some secrets about her. Maybe he has the tea on her and said, J-Law, you're doing this movie for me.
Or he's a creepy old guy and wanted to see her naked.
Maybe. Or that.
After working with her as a teenager.
Maybe that. But no, you know what I want to see Jennifer Lawrence do that she hasn't done? Anytime you see interviews with her or anything like that, she has a really fun personality. She seems really just goofy and fun. I want to see her in a really goofy, fun comedic role. I want to see her in Ocean's 8 or in a buddy cop comedy with Melissa McCarthy or something like that.
Well, I was thinking she could easily be another Sandra Bullock or Julia Roberts.
But better.
But better, yeah.
I really think she has such a high ceiling. I want to see her really stretch that. I think she's doing great things when she does these franchise movies and Oscar movies. And I want to see her do a goofy, fun comedy.
Right.
I think this thriller, action-y, but not really kind of thing. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting and not in a good way choice for a next role for her. Like I said, I typically enjoy her, and we're going to talk about Red Sparrow more, but I think I enjoy this movie more than I would have had she not been in it, had it been someone else in that role. But we can talk more about that, here in a second.
I actually liked this more than I thought I would.
Okay.
By no means is this going on my best movies of the year list or anything like that. But because, like we said earlier, going into it, not quite sure.
I mean, what were you expecting when you went in? Were you expecting to hate it? Were you expecting to be okay with it? What were you expecting going in?
I was expecting it to kind of be just another Atomic Blonde type movie. Lots of action and explosions and stuff like that. And it turned out to be a little bit more character driven than I thought it might be. So
I disagree.
I can see that.
I went in being underwhelmed based on the trailer and everything, and it met those expectations.
Okay.
I did not get much from these characters. They did not do much of anything for me, and I don't think the film did anything to really let us get to know much about these characters. And maybe part of that was the setting, but it felt so cold. I didn't feel a connection to really any of the characters. A little bit to Jennifer Lawrence's.
Yeah.
But I think that's more her. If you put another actress in that exact same role, maybe you don't even feel that connection to her. But I didn't really feel a connection to these characters. I didn't know much about any of them.
I will say that, obviously, so her being a ballerina and then going into this isn't a spoiler. It's part of the synopsis and part of the trailer. But what I will say, though, is that I feel like she jumped very quickly from being a ballerina to being willing to be a cold-blooded killer.
Well, they didn't really set up her passion for dancing.
Yeah.
That wasn't, I think if they had, I get that maybe this character was supposed to be very obsessive and very, passionate about that, and that passion then translated to her being the spy, but they didn't even build up that initial passion beyond showing her cry when her leg gets broken.
Yeah.
So they didn't do enough to establish her as a character before they just threw her into this world of spies and espionage. So I just wasn't bought in from the get-go into that premise.
See, for me, I just took it from the mindset of she's doing what she has to do to keep her mother protected and stuff like that. So in
Yeah, but why do I care about her or her mom?
I don't know. I
You gotta earn that. I didn't feel like the movie did anything to earn me caring about any of these characters. They said the mom was sick. Did they even say what she was sick from?
no, I don't think
They didn't
so.
even say, they didn't even take the time to tell us what ailments her mother had. They just portrayed her as this sickly, frail woman who did not look sickly nor frail.
So what I will say though is that at 2 hours and 20 minutes, I'm sure glad they didn't add more time to explain
Jesus.
more.
Yeah, this movie was long and it felt its length.
It really did.
Which usually I don't complain about things feeling their length, but this felt its length. You're
Yeah.
not getting my double entendre.
No, no.
That was a joke, Mike.
I'm
that
sorry.
was a good quality
that
joke.
That was a good joke.
I even heard some of the listeners laughing at that. You weren't even laughing. Jesus, Mike. It's a gay podcast. When I joke about length and enjoying it, you know what I'm talking about.
Sometimes it's
Movies.
hard to get through to me.
But no, it felt really long.
Yeah.
And not very focused, if you ask me. I felt like they wanted so badly to get to that third act and all the twists and turns there,
Yeah.
that they just tried to force through everything else to get to that point.
I guess I kind of felt like in a way I kind of got the gist of the character motivations, and apparently that was enough for me to make it through the story. But you're right. There maybe character driven isn't the right term to give this, as opposed to being an action shoot 'em up, blow 'em up kind of thing. It was trying to be more of a human story.
Yeah. I don't know. I know.
No.
No, not for me. I mean, I don't even know. Okay, so what were they trying to make here? What movie would you compare this movie to? Because, okay, so it wasn't fun at all. There was no jokes, no like levity, not even, a brief moment of, oh, here's a funny one line. Like, there was none of that.
Yeah.
I didn't have one single laugh in mine.
No. I don't remember laughing at all.
Right. So it wasn't that.
It was at times grotesque.
Right. So very violent. And even actually the people who were sitting in front of me in the theater, as soon as it ends, it was a couple, and the woman turned to the man and goes, well, that was more violent than I expected. Because the trailer doesn't even give you a sense of the level of violence in this movie,
Yeah. I actually, in the showing that I saw, there were actually some people who got up and left.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there weren't that many people in there to begin with, so you could see when somebody left and didn't come back.
Yeah. I think another movie, I know this was based on a book that I have not read. You could say any movie's based on a book, and I would just be like, okay, fine.
Well, and supposedly it doesn't even follow the book very well, so the book might be fantastic.
I always hear the book's better. I don't care about that. But here's what I'll say is that I feel like there was a good... They skipped over the most interesting parts. The part where I was really getting invested in this movie was when she was in that training.
Yeah.
That I found really compelling.
That went really fast. I mean,
and they just flew by it.
Yeah. They, like, for a second, you see students out, like, on the shooting range, and you see them working on trying to pick locks and stuff like that. But they wanted to focus so much on the sexual behavior, on how to manipulate people and stuff like that,
I like that. I thought that was really compelling. I really wanted this whole movie to be the class, them being taught how to seduce their prey, and then going on missions where they were doing that. I found that to be kind of interesting, but they just flew by it and didn't even delve into that enough for me. I wish that had been pretty much the movie. Like, make that the movie. That was interesting to me.
So as the movie went on, they try and make it seem like you can't tell which side she's on. Could you
I
tell?
could always tell. And that's the one part of getting Jennifer Lawrence in your movie that I think held this movie back is I never questioned whether or not Jennifer Lawrence was the good person.
Yeah.
You know, I never questioned whether or not she was going to end up being on the good side or being on the bad side. And she did not really portray being even remotely what's the word I'm looking for? She did not even seem like she was on the fence about what side she was on to me.
Yeah.
The whole time I was like, she's going to end up on the good side.
Right.
I never for a second thought she was going to double cross. That would have been a more interesting twist for me, maybe. But even that, I wasn't invested enough in her as a character to be taken to that point where that would have impacted me much.
There was one particular scene with Joel Edgerton getting kind of tortured that I kind of thought maybe, but pretty quickly you realize, nah, she's still with him.
Yeah, it was. I never for a second questioned where she was going to end up. I always thought she was going to be on the good side of things.
Yeah.
And that also took me out of it a little bit. And that wasn't compelling to me. This movie is counting on you being brought in by, okay, which side is she going? Which way is she going? And it didn't pull me in that regard.
Just wasn't convincing enough.
No. And part of that probably is the Jennifer Lawrence. And if it had been more of an unknown actress, maybe I would have been a little more. But you have so much. I don't know. When I look at Jennifer Lawrence, I think, oh, what a nice person.
Right. Yeah. When you have somebody like her, you're thinking there's no way at the end of this movie she's going to remain aligned with a terrible government assassin agency.
Right. They don't even set the situation up for you to question which side she should be on.
Right.
Right. They never set up so it's Americans versus Russians, and they never set up the Americans to look like they're doing anything nefarious or wrong. And the Russians are always doing everything evil.
Right.
And so there's no ambiguity for the audience even to think, okay, what side should I be rooting for? Whereas, when I watch The Americans, a show about Russian spies living in America, sometimes you forget what side to root for. Sometimes you find yourself rooting for the Russians because Carrie Russell plays that character she's so compelling. And I know they have a whole series with which to build up your connection to that character versus 2.5 hour movie. But still, they do a good job of that, and they did not do that here.
That's actually a good point. Maybe a movie like this would have been better off as like a Stars series or HBO or something like that, with actors not quite the clout as Jennifer Lawrence in there and stuff like that, and being able to expand that storyline and the training, or maybe do a series of flashbacks or something like that gives you more insight into how they are, why they are, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I loved the premise of her being in this training with these other Sparrows in training, learning how to seduce a target and really struggling with their own insecurities about their sexuality and how to use sex as a weapon. I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting premise that they could have really stretched out and made an entire movie about, but instead they gloss over it so quickly, and there's things that happen that just don't have much of an impact and don't make a lot of sense. So for instance, there's one cadet who tries to rape her in the shower, and that moment just felt really weird and off, and it's like, why is he doing this? They didn't really build up this character
that
at all.
was kind of out of nowhere.
Just out of nowhere. And I don't know, I felt weird watching that. Whereas if they had made more of an effort to build all these characters, then and maybe even make a connection between Jennifer Lawrence and that character. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it happens and you're really invested and you're like, oh no, why is he doing that? Or, oh, this is really surprising. But instead it's like they just threw in this shower rape scene, which just felt icky and
Yeah.
wrong and off. And I did not like that. It just, they did not execute that well. You could tell they were just trying to rush through what I found to be the most interesting part of the movie to get to all these twists and turns they so desperately wanted to get to that I was not intrigued by in the least.
Yeah. One of the things that I had kind of thought about going into this movie was, here we are again, a beautiful woman using sex as a weapon. But I was kind of intrigued then to realize that it's not just women that are in this program. It's men and women, and they're both kind of learning to use methods of manipulation and sexual diversion and stuff like that. But yeah, there was not enough focus on the training.
No, and I thought the character, the woman who was running the training class,
Yeah.
I was hoping she was going to be playing a really big role in this movie because I was intrigued by this whole notion that she was trying to get them to completely disengage mentally and emotionally from what they were doing. And I want to see more pushback against her character. I want to see how her character would react. I just wanted to get more out of that character. I was really intrigued by her, and then
She disappears until the end. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, she's just sitting in a scene towards the end of the movie.
Graduation or whatever that
Right.
is.
But that was just weird to me. I was like, I loved this character. I wanted to get to know her more. But then they just take her away, and
Yeah.
after they kind of built her up as this really intriguing, mysterious, strong woman who then goes away,
Right.
and says and tells Jennifer Lawrence, "You've been disappointing, you suck, but they're taking you away for a mission, so good luck to you." It just was so weird that character really just disappears.
It's like they introduce an antagonist but don't offer any kind of resolution to that.
Right. She just goes away. And
Yeah.
again, if it was the opposite and those scenes for me had been not that interesting, but the rest had been very compelling, I would say I really like this movie, but I wish they had gotten rid of this silly training stuff that you could tell they rushed through to get to this more interesting stuff. But instead, they had this really interesting thing, and they seemed to rush through that to get to something that was not at all interesting to me.
So outside of then the Russian aspect, what were your thoughts then on the Americans? Joel Edgerton, and I guess he was really the only, other than his superiors or whatever. But was there any of that part of the story that clicked with you?
No.
No.
No. I mean, okay. Tell me anything interesting about his character that you learned in this movie. Go.
He liked to swim. Not interesting enough.
Right. They established absolutely nothing with his character, and Joel Edgerton does not have the charisma to just carry
Yeah.
that on his own. He was not an interesting character. I didn't buy any of the chemistry. Was it supposed to be kind of a romantic chemistry between him and Jennifer Lawrence?
Oh, I think so.
I didn't buy it at all. It seemed inauthentic.
Yeah.
It seemed cold. It just didn't. I felt no connection with any of the American characters. They were just there to be the good guys. There was no reason behind them being the good guys. They just were because they were Americans. And hey, I love America, but come on, if it's a movie, why am I rooting for these folks other than the fact that they're just not the bad guys?
Yeah.
This wasn't even a fun movie to look at,
Yeah.
especially considering some of the places they were.
They were in Budapest, but they were in like a downtown city, and
yeah, it just wasn't compelling visually at all. There was nothing really drawing you into this story.
yeah.
Yeah, not very well shot for my And maybe part of that is because they were trying to give off some of this cold Russian vibe, but I don't want to spend 2.5 hours in that world.
Yeah. You asked earlier what I compare it to, and I'm not sure that I can think of anything specifically to compare it to, but I would say if you, at least you want to be a little bit more entertained, check out Atomic Blonde over this one.
But that's the thing. A movie like Atomic Blonde, any of the Bourne films,
Yeah.
a Bond film, what do those have that this doesn't? They have some fun, right?
Right.
There's some action that really like makes your jaw drop, or there's some brief moments of humor, some brief moments of levity, or a character who kind of injects some funny lines or some
Yeah.
wit into the movie. There's none of that here. Zero. There's no character, there's no action scene that really like brings you to have some fun. And I don't know about you, Mike, I go to the movies to have some fun. Right?
No, I agree.
And there is no sense of fun with this movie. What did you think of the Russian accents?
Okay, the accents were horrible. The accents were horrible. I did not buy those whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, Jennifer's was probably the closest to an okay one.
But you got Jeremy Irons, who's British, trying to do a Russian accent, and it just came across as a British accent. Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough. Yeah. Yeah, the accents took me out of it. I mean, you know what? I said there was no moments of levity. Anytime someone was trying to do a Russian accent in this movie, I was on the verge of laughing because it was
See, there you go. That was their intent.
so comically bad.
I'm sure that was their intent.
Oh, rough. Rough.
Yeah.
This movie is one of the reasons I said during when we were talking about the Oscar movies that I was not giving any 1 stars to those because I want to reserve those for truly bad movies.
Well, maybe it's time to move on to some of our takes.
Okay, let's do that.
So these are our real takes of the movie. So why don't you start with what's the gayest moment that you found in this movie?
So like I've said, the whole aspect of the training and the seduction and all that, I actually found it kind of hot. You know, it was kind of cool. It was just really interesting to see these cadets deal with the struggle of what their sexuality means and how they divorce that from what they're trying to do and what they're trying to train for. I think there's maybe something that gays can relate to with that, in that so much of our life growing up, we have to divorce ourselves from maybe how we feel sexually or kind of some attractions that we feel, and we have to put on a face and all this kind of stuff. So it was interesting to see that playing out in almost like a spy setting where they're having to learn how to fake attraction or fake this, you know, sexual being that they're supposed to be for this. And I'm sitting there like, bitch, I had to do that for the first 18 years of my life. Like, they should have just gotten all the cadets to be gays in Russia. It's like, we got this. You need me to pretend to be attracted to someone I'm not? Done. Got it.
Got it.
Check. Next. I feel like gays can really relate to that part. We would all be great spies, is what I'm trying to say.
We can keep a secret.
We can keep a secret for a while.
All right. Well, it kind of sounds like a lot of shade has already been thrown at this movie. But what is your shadiest take?
My shadiest take is it was boring. It was just a boring movie. Like I've said enough, that I don't know who this movie was made for. I don't know who they're hoping goes to see it. I don't know who would see the trailer or any of the promotional materials for this movie and say, yes, we have to see it, other than maybe some big time Jennifer Lawrence fans. And so my shade is just with this movie in general. Who is it made for? Who are they hoping this movie appeals to? It doesn't seem like I feel like with some movies, I may not like it, but I can say, okay, I see how that was made for a certain audience. It's not me, but it was made for someone. I don't know who this movie was made for. I couldn't tell you. And no.
Would you say that anybody in this movie slayed?
I mean, If anyone did, I guess Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
I guess she made the best of a bad. You know what? No. If anyone slayed this movie, it was, I don't know who the actress was, but the actress who played the teacher at the
Okay.
spy training. I mean, like I said, I really liked that character. I wanted to spend the movie with that character. We didn't get much of her, but what we got, I liked. So, like I said, I wish that had been the whole movie and that she would have played a more prominent role, and then she didn't. But the parts that she was in, I did really enjoy. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give it up for her. I'll also give an honorable slay to Mary Louise Parker for at least having the human decency to get hit by a bus so that she didn't have to be in this movie anymore.
See, okay, so I think that is where they were trying to put in the humor. Seriously, I mean, because she was always drunk and stuff like that. It wasn't funny, but she was not a good character.
Well, she just got hit by a bus, and I was like, same.
Yeah.
I wish a bus would come hit me right now. Jesus.
What about a no, ma'am? I imagine there's one or two there.
I mean, for how much time he gets on screen and just establishes no chemistry with any character, especially Jennifer Lawrence, I have to give it to Joel Edgerton.
Okay.
Just there's nothing compelling about his character, and not all of it is his fault. He wasn't really given much to work with, but he was not at all. There's no charisma, nothing really that pulled me in about his performance or that character. It just fell completely flat.
So what do you say we go ahead and take this on home and give out some ratings?
Oh, please, God, let's wrap this up. I'm done with Red Sparrow.
Done with Red Sparrow. Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and start and give me your rating, and I think I might know what it is.
Yeah, one reel. This was a train wreck, girl.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I do not see this movie. I don't understand who would even like this movie. And, you know, except for a couple of hot guys in it, gays, I don't think any gays would even want to see this movie. So just no.
Not even for J-Law.
This isn't for the gays. This isn't for anyone. This movie seems to be custom built to not entertain a single person who goes to see it. So, yeah, one reel.
One reel. All right. So I gave it a 2. I gave it 2 reels.
2 reels?
2 reels.
Didn't you give, like, Oscar-nominated Best Picture movies 2 reels?
Yeah. But I'm curious to see what other people think, so go see it and then tell me.
Don't. I'm saving you 2.5 hours of your life, people. Do not see this movie under no circumstances.
All right. Well, I think I'm actually going to echo Ryan and say I don't think anybody really should see this movie. But upon leaving the theater, I thought it was okay. So I'm gonna stick with my 2.
Fine. It's your rating.
It's
you can
my
do what
rating.
you want with it.
But if anybody does see it, despite what either of us said, or in spite of whatever we said, let us know what you think.
Do you think any gays should see this movie?
No.
Why should gays see this movie?
Gays shouldn't see this movie.
You're telling the straight people to see it. Yes, straight people, go away for 2.5 hours. Leave us alone in the world and see the shitty movie. We're done with Red Sparrow.
Yeah, we're done with Red Sparrow. All right, so putting this movie far in our rearview mirror, let's give out some happy recommendations.
Okay, so Mike, my recommendation this week is another podcast that I listen to regularly, and it's DragCast with our own local drag celebrity, Nina West. I listen to it every week. It's Nina and her best friend, Patricia, talking about drag news, but also just what's going on in their lives. It's very local, so a lot of talking about what's going on in Columbus. And so very relatable to me living in Columbus. But I think also just, it's a lot of fun. I listen to a lot of political podcasts. I listen to a lot of sports podcasts because I'm a sports fan, and so it's really nice. And I listen to some movie podcasts, so it's really nice to have a podcast where it's really not any of those things, and it's something that's just fun. It's my fun listen every week.
Nice.
I love Nina. I love the work that Andrew, aka Nina, does for our community, and I just find him very entertaining. And so, and Patricia, they're both really funny and fun to listen to. And so I really love just hearing everything that they have to say. So my recommendation of the week would be DragCast with Nina West.
Very nice. And Andrew is a sweetheart.
Oh my gosh. Such a nice guy.
So, all right, wonderful. Well, my recommendation this week is a short film that came out, I think, 2016. It's called Curmudgeons. It stars Danny DeVito of all people, and he is in a nursing home. He and his partner are in a nursing home. They're
gay icon Danny DeVito.
Yeah, right, exactly. They're two old guys that they've both lost their wives have passed away, and these two built a relationship and fell in love. So it stars Danny DeVito and David Margulies. I think it's David Margulies, which he was the mayor in the first Ghostbusters.
Oh,
but so he's the other guy that the other curmudgeon. David's character proposes to Danny DeVito, and they're crotchety old men, but you can just tell that they really love each other, and it's beautiful. And Lucy DeVito actually plays one of the guy's granddaughter, and she's actually Danny DeVito's daughter in real life.
Nice.
But
I'm intrigued. Where can we check this out?
So it's actually the whole thing is playing on Vimeo. It's only like 16 minutes long.
Oh.
So I will put a link to it in our show notes.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a cute little story.
Yeah. Fun fact: Curmudgeons was actually the original name of our podcast, but then we realized it was taken. So no curmudgeons for us.
We're not quite as old yet, but we are getting crotchety.
We're very cranky. Especially after seeing, I was going to ask, is it actually a short film, or does every film now seem short after seeing Red Sparrow?
It's an hour and 60 minutes, or an
hour and 60 minutes, so 2 hours.
Curmudgeon. Anyway,
good recommendation. I'll have to check that one out.
All right, yeah. So, and we'll put a link to Nina's podcast in the description as well.
Yeah, you can check it out on Stitcher, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Awesome. So as we get ready to wrap it up here, Ryan, do you have anything you'd like to add to the episode?
No, I would like to subtract having ever seen Red Sparrow. But other than that, I'm good.
Well, Ryan, I think that's going to do it for today.
I think it is.
I think so. So hopefully next week we have a better movie to talk about.
I hope so.
So I suppose it can't get much worse then, right?
It really can't. Yeah. God, I hope not. Was this a big mistake, Mike?
Listen, people, stick with us. Stick with us. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed the episode regardless of the content. And make sure that you're following us on Twitter at Real Gay, on Facebook and Instagram at Real Gay.
Real Gay Movie Show.
Real Gay Movie Show on Instagram. So that's it for us. Hope you have a real gay day.
The gayest.